Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2022 the CJ Cup at the Summit. This is going to be my preview with the picks, so I'm combining two shows because I am a little late getting this out, so I apologize for that. So give me about 45 minutes, and I appreciate for stopping by, and we're going to go through some deep analysis. We're going to cover everything you need to know about this course to what I can share. And we're going to talk about the guys that can go low because we're going to have them for 4 days. So let's get into this and let's talk some golf. All right, so real quick, just some take care of some business. As you know, I've been promoting Prize Picks. If you've not checked it out, please do. At least give it a shot. And if you do, enter in my promo code, Golf Guru, and they're going to match you up to 100% of your first deposit up to $100. So if you put 25 in, they'll give you 25 free. 50, 50, and so on. And what is prizepicks.com if you do not know? This is a projection, so you're betting the over or the under, and you're getting to do it with a bunch of sports, and you can also cross. So if you can pick a guy in football, you can pick a guy in golf. Typically, of course, because this is focused on golf, I will be giving you my picks for the golf side. And if you can pick up to 2 to 5 guys, so if you pick up 2, I think you can 2x your money, but if you go up to like 4 and lock it in as a non-flex, you can get 10 extra money. So again, it's just a different way to get involved in fantasy, and I think a little less complicated. And you're not, betting against a bunch of entries. It's you versus their projections. And with that said, I gave for the Shriners last week, gave you my picks for Thursday, and hit everything but Louis. And I mentioned, if you saw last week's show, that I was a little worried about Louis going over, but I thought he'd have a little bit of rust he'd have to knock off the first day. Instead, he actually went super low. I think the lowest he went for the tournament was on the first day. But I also told you that I really like Patrick Reed to go over, and I think he ended up shooting like even or +1. So I had to shoot my bet, and I also put one in for Patrick Reed. So maybe you heard that when I was discussing it, and if you did enter in a prize pick for the first round that hopefully you went with Patrick Reed, you would have been a winner. So now I think I'm 2 out of 5, so I've got to get my stuff together and hopefully have a little better week at the CJ Cup. Okay, so check out Prize Picks, enter promo code Golf Guru, and get yourself a free $100 or whatever you decide to put in. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Shriners. Not going to spend a lot of time on here, but I think the key word to this whole thing was just carnage. I'm sure everybody, probably felt the same as I did, that there was a lot of key guys that we were focusing on. We thought would do very well, who did not make the cut. Some surprise guys that got up there. Ultimately, though, I guess on the positive was I did not fall for the narrative of Patrick Reed, coming off that Ryder disc, that he was going to do something. I mean, his game has just been south, and he hasn't done really a whole lot since the Farmers way back. I believe that was, February timeframe now? Early spring, we'll put it that way. But long story short, really not a whole lot we can glean. If you want to look at some of the stroke data here, it was the only thing I could say really positive was out of this whole thing for me, and hopefully maybe you guys too, is that I started to look at this leaderboard Saturday night, and the more I kind of evaluated it, you can start to mark a lot of these guys off. And so how I looked at it was Burns. The odds that Burns, even though, he looked amazing the first 3 days, to go back to back that he was not going to run out of a little gas, I kind of was like, well, I'm going to, I haven't seen a back-to-back literally natural winner, and I couldn't tell you, I can't remember. So then I looked at Ramey, never been in that situation. Shank, funny enough, I had a bet on him. I've been picking him over and over, and actually, funny enough, he was not one of my picks this week, but of course he, got up there. I was, with Wolf, he was probably the one guy also that I thought could do something on the final day. Of course, he's done very well at that tournament in the past. Again, wasn't one of my picks, but just because of how bad, he would spike one day, shoot 5-6 under, next day he'd shoot 5-6 over. I mean, so he was a little hard. So long story short, I jumped on the M train. I just know with Sanjay M, on Sundays, for whatever reason, that guy just has awesome Sundays. No matter, even if he's not in contention, the guy just typically has amazing Sundays. And also knowing that I watched a bit of the Saturday coverage and also looked at the stroke gain analysis, and everything was saying a guy, you could see it, it was in the numbers that Tee to Green, he was leading the field. He was elite. It was just, he burned a lot of edges on Saturday. So I thought, well, some of those putts fall in. This guy is very live to win this thing, and he was at 9-1 at that point, so I jumped all over that. So that really kind of saved my weekend. I mean, also just from a DFS large GPP game, I think I put like 10 entries in. I wasn't, super excited from a DFS standpoint with this tournament, just because, as I mentioned, it's so sporadic who actually is going to do well here. I stated that in my preview show that there's certain courses that you, from an analysis, can really find the players that should do well. And then there's, the Shriners, TPC Summerlin, that it is so hard to predict who's going to have that hot putting week. And that's really what it typically comes down to. So, long story short, that's about all I have to say regarding the Shriners. And, the good news is that sometimes it does lead to some big odds bets. I don't remember what Sanjay was coming in. I would guess 25-1. So I felt pretty good, going into Sunday morning, Saturday night, that I was still getting 9-1 on him. So, yeah. All right, let's move along. So let's put our focus to the second leg of the Vegas swing in Summerlin, and yes, it is the CJ Cup, hosted last year at Shadow Creek, which is kind of curious that they're not having it there again. Literally, I think this course had like 2 months to prepare for this, and I'm just guessing MGM just did not want to give up their property again, or could not come to some kind of conclusion on it. So, what do we know about the Summit Club? This is a brand new hosting event for a PGA event. As far as I know, everything I could look, nothing's ever been hosted here from a senior, from a ladies. I don't even know, Corn Ferry. It is a very ritzy, private country club. I think it's like 300 grand to join the place, and then you're looking at like 100K a year in dues. And what we do know is it is a Tom Fazio course. And then if you wanted to kind of look at some other Tom Fazio courses, of course, where they play the Wells Fargo for the Quail Hollow. Congaree, which we just saw the Palmetto this past summer. That's where Garrick Higgle won, where they just had the BMW for the FedEx Cup at Cays Valley. That's a Tom Fazio. Of course, Shadow Creek, where they played the CJ Cup last year, which, if you didn't see that, just think of Augusta National, where they play the Masters. And literally, I think it's a very close from every aspect, from bent to the yardage to even what the course looks like and somewhat plays like, is a lot like Augusta. And then last, where we watched, if you got to watching the Olympic men's golf, the Kasum Gasicki course is a Tom Fazio too. So just some side notes there. But this is a big boy course on some degree. It is a par 72, 7,400 yards. I think it's going to play a lot less than that. We'll look at the scorecard. We'll talk about that. But you just got to keep in your mind that it's going to be hot here. They're at a higher elevation, and the ball is going to fly more. I mean, there was, guys that were hitting at 360, 370 at Shriners that typically, hit at 300. So, and of course, there was some downhill and some downwind and all that. But I'm just saying that this course, I don't think is going to play like a hard 7,400 yards. We'll just put it that way. We are still on Bermuda fairways and Bermuda rough, but it was overseeded a couple months ago with this perennial rye, and it's 3-inch rough. So all that means is it's going to, be maybe a little tougher to get it out. So that, the rough could be a little penal. We'll see how that all plays, but 3-inch Bermuda could be a problem. The ball sits down. Now you add in this overseeded rye, is going to make it a thicker, denser, going to grab the club trying to come through. And if for somehow reason they get some rain, it's going to even be worse. But it's been a very dry summer in Vegas, and I think if you watch the Shriners, they were dumping a lot of water on that course to keep it green. And then last but not least, it is bent grass greens. So the same thing we just saw, a different type of bent grass, but all in all, you could look a little bit at what was going on at Shriners, because a little similar as in green sizes, I would guess, on how fast the greens are. I think there's a little more slope to these greens, more hills and whatnot. But yeah, there's some similarities. So if guys that are in this tournament had a good putting weekend last weekend, that could carry over. And we're talking about a total different player field than what we've been seeing. So the mind's got to kind of shift a little bit. The last few tournaments we've seen, it's been, not so much the who's who by any stretch. You're getting a lot of the guys back that you saw at the FedEx Cup playoffs. It is a small field, about half of what we're typically seeing. Kind of an invite only. It's a 78 field with no cut, which a lot of the CJ Cups, the Zozo, and then, of course, like the WGC events and some invitationals. So, of course, there is no cut line. And I'm going to go with the winning score at Shadow Creek. I think it'll be pretty similar here. I actually think these guys are going to go lower than 20 under. So if somewhere, if you find that is an over-under bet, I would bet the over that they will go over 20 under. But of course, Jason Kokrak won last year at Shadow Creek. And then, there was a piece of inside information that came out after, at least I never saw anything, even from press releases or whatnot. Of course, that Jason Kokrak is sponsored by MGM and actually played Shadow Creek a ton, taking out their, kind of high roller guest. So, of course, he knew the greens very well. And that's also when he switched and went to a little longer putter. And the guy went out and just went in fuego with the putter and won his first tournament. So as I already mentioned, the greens here are larger than average. So average size green, 5,500 square feet. Here they're 6,580, and there's quite a bit of slope. You got 62 sand bunkers, and they are pretty deep around the green. So we're going to need some guys that are good around the green. You got 4 man-made water hazards, which then 7 holes actually come into play on those water hazards. That includes like a creek kind of river that kind of runs through some of the course. Will kind of go down the fairway. It'll pitch in front. So, could get, I guess, in a little bit of trouble there. The step meter reading I do not have, but I'm assuming lightning fast from everything. I'm sure they got these greens in preparation for this. Got them, firmed up, rolled, cut tight. So, yeah. And also, as I mentioned, it's been pretty dry there. So if you had to look at course defense for this course, it's very similar also to what we saw at TPC Shriners. Really, their only defense is going to be, can they get in trouble in some of the water? Yeah. If they get way offline into that, kind of desert wasteland, could be a problem. I don't know what the rough, as I mentioned, is going to do, but I think it's going to cause a little bit of issues. But these are very large, generous fairways from everything I can see, and very large greens. And then last but not least, it's all going to come down if we get the win like we did on Friday at Shriners. And then just some side notes, because I don't have any past notes specifically for this course. But it is noted that Colin Morikawa is a member at the Summit Club. I don't think he's lived in Vegas that long, if I remember right. I think it's like a little over a year. But he has shot a 62 at this course in the past. Also, I had some information that Brooks Koepka, back in 2018, somehow plays 72 holes and has a 267. And then Ryan Palmer, who right now is an alternate unless somebody drops out. I think Matthew Wolff is also on that list, and a couple other guys. I think Fitzpatrick, and I'm missing a fourth guy. But if someone drops out, Ryan Palmer would get in, and he has shot also a 62. Okay, so there is some guys that I know of right now that have some course history. And then if you want to just get a quick look-see, funny enough, there is nothing out there really on YouTube except for like some real estate stuff for this place. But if you type in Summit, let me think about this. I think it's the summitnv.com, something like that. There's like a 2-minute, flyover video of this place. But really what I'm showing you here is going to kind of sum it up. So as I mentioned, you got some man-made water. You don't have trees, but you got, just this kind of wasteland, depending on where your ball stops, what you're going to get in there. But you can see very large fairways. I mentioned a lot of sand, the deep sand around the bunkers. Again, you got water kind of protecting this green. It kind of looks like a par 3 if I had to guess. And, again, there is some areas, but a lot of landing areas for these guys. Nothing really should cause any issues. And then, again, just give you a close-up of one of the greens. And, again, you can just see the desert wasteland. And even though this is in a desert, there is quite a bit of elevation and slope, which you saw a little bit at TPC Summerlin where they played Shriners. I believe there's even more here, it looked like, from the pictures and everything I saw. So you're going to be hitting some shots that are below you, above you. Again, I guess that could cause, maybe a little bit of hindrance. But again, I think these guys they're going to take this course apart is what I see. And on that note, let's go look at the scorecard and why I say that. So you've got 3 par 4s that are pretty close to drivable for some of these guys. So hole number 1 is a par 4, 377. You got this number 5, par 4, 366. You got number 12, that's 360. And you got to remember, this course is set up for amateurs. This is not a PGA design. It's not even a TPC course. So it's a course that, they did whatever they could to lengthen, I'm sure, certain holes. But again, there's a lot of gettable, scoreable opportunities. And so I'll be curious, even on like Prize Picks, if they will do projections on birdies. They didn't do it last week at TPC Summerlin for the Shriners because I think They just didn't have a good, either they didn't get it from Vegas or they just didn't feel comfortable with the projections. Anyways, getting back to the scorecard, you got four par fives. Two of them are, again, possible eagle opportunities. Number 14 at 550. And then I even think 18 at 580. And then you got a couple longer, 597 at 614. But again, nothing these guys can't handle for definitely a close birdie opportunity. There's a short par three, a couple longer par threes. You got a couple longer par fours. So, like I said, it's quite a roller coaster ride as in yardages. You're going to have par fours that are 500, yards. Then you're going to have ones that are like 350. So, all of a sudden it is 7,400 yards, but I think it's an easy 7,400. So with that said, I still did kind of my approach, going through the card, going through everything I see, what I think it would take to win, what is the best golfer that we're looking at from a stroke gain analysis. And again, if you are new or don't really understand stroke gain analysis, I didn't really mention this, but I did do a video, kind of a educational 101 on stroke gain analysis. Just put it in the search bar. Just look on my site for Golf Guru. You'll find it, and it will give you everything you need to know about stroke gain and how to use it to do your own picks and research. But with that said, really the things that we're going to look at and kind of the narrative I'm going with is I want guys, because we've got them for 4 days, unless they literally withdraw like a Jason Day last year. I want guys that can make a lot of birdies and get a lot of opportunities for birdies. Because we're going to have them for all 4 days. And then all this other stuff kind of fits with that, right? You're not going to get these opportunities if you're not, smoking the ball off the tee, having good approach shots, making putts. But, you can see kind of my ranking and feel free. But, when it all comes down to it, this is the big focus I'm going to have is how I'm going to build my DFS teams. Not how I'm going to bet per se, because it doesn't mean just because you get a lot of these birdies and stuff, of course, you could be getting bogeys. But as you know from DFS scoring, and that's what I'm talking about and why my approach is that, you're getting dinged very little for a bogey versus what you get for a birdie, no matter if it's showdown or for the whole tournament. So ultimately, you just want guys that are going to score best and outscore, from a point perspective, even where they play. So, is it possible for a guy to end up at 10th that ends up technically from a point standpoint, the second best guy you could have had on your team? Yes. And when you get into these kind of events that are no cut, that's the thought process you have to take. Okay. I put this in here again. It's not super helpful, but if you are curious what guys did well, because like I said, I think there is some crossover. You could say from Shadow Creek, smaller greens, 7,500 yards, but it is Vegas, same elevation, bit of undulation. I think you could get more trouble at Shadow Creek than you can here. There was more of a tree line. Again, just think of Augusta, and it's very similar. But if you wanted to see, like I mentioned, Jason Kokrak, knew the greens, put it on a baton, went en fuego, and, gained 10 strokes with the putter. And, if you gain that and just do okay on the rest of the areas, you were going to win a tournament. Xander had a charge on Sunday, if I remember right, to get up there to second. Terrell Hatton, I remember he played over in Europe and then flew in the day before, came out and just lit it up on Thursday and Friday. I mean, he was just dropping dimes on approach. It was ridiculous. So, and if you watched again the Ryder Cup, you saw a bit of what he was doing with the iron. So he's someone interesting. Gooch been playing good golf, been popping up there. My guy Sebastian Munoz has just been a disaster. So I don't know what to do with that. But anyways, I just wanted to show you so you have this to look at if you're curious. There wasn't anything that stood out. I mean, you can see at Shadow Creek around the green, maybe not as important, but it looked like either you did it with the irons or you did it with the putter is really what I got out of this. And you can see off the tee, Kokrak didn't really gain a whole lot. He gained a little bit, but again, it was just a putter. And then from comparable courses, this will give you courses that from a distance or Tom Fazio design. But really what I'm going to do when I'm plugging in these guys, we're just going to look at the no-cut events, the WGC events. We're going to look at like the CJ Cup last year, the Zozo. I'll use those as some reference points. But you could also look, at who's done well at these tracks. Very similar, par 72s, yardage. Of course, Wells Fargo is a Tom Fazio, as I mentioned. Congaree is a Tom Fazio. Shadow Creek, and then I mentioned a WGC. And here's a list. If most of these courses under this model, if you plug it in, this is what you get. And just so you know, for the model, what I'm looking at, Again, no filters, past 12 rounds, and approach is weighted 20. I kind of doubled up on distance and off the tee. Par fives, 4 of them. We got to get some scoring there. A lot of par fours that pop. Well, not a lot. There was 3 that fell in this under 400 range, and so I think it was just interesting to see the guys that do go for it and can make who's getting the most strokes on those short par fours. I mentioned around the green. I think a little bit, nothing crazy, but a little bit could be important. Putting, as always, here's the birdies and birdie or better opportunities gained. And then the proximities that I'm leaning towards are a little shorter. I think, if you kind of sit there and play with the scorecard and figure it out, I think these are the 2 range, 75 to 100, 120, 125. And then you got quite a few par fours that fell in this 450 to 500. So that's the model, so that you were getting this, and then I banged it against these kind of courses. And this is who popped up for you. You got Hoffman, Spieth, Henley, Schauffele over their last 3 tournaments on these tracks. Okay, so let's go look at, again, if you want to just look at recent form, using that same model, no filters, last 12 rounds, who's done these things very well that I think is, the key areas that they're going to need to do well. JT, Siwoo, Tringali, Burns, guys, funny enough, that have, won in the FedEx. So you got Finau was a winner. Burns, of course, won here recently. Sanjay M, of course, just won. And this is pulling in the data from Shriners, Fortinet, and I think I'm missing one in between. Oh, Sanderson Farms. So that's where Burns won. So, yeah, anyways, you can kind of get an idea of who's doing well from a recent form standpoint under these stroking categories. And then if you're curious who does well in no-cut events, this pulls up like the last 12. So this would be the Tour Championship, Century Tournament of Champions. It might pull in the CJ Cup or the Zozo. It's all depending on what these guys played in. It would have pulled in a WGC event, probably to St. Jude. But just to give you an idea, it is a little different when you're in a no-cut event. If you can come out top, and typically, it's the 80 best. No, not that. I would say 70 best PGA players, and then you're going to get just like a World Golf, because it is backed by an Asian sponsored CJ, which is a logistics company. You're going to get like 10 top Asian tour players that are in this that you can pretty much just write off. Now, from a betting perspective, or if you're trying to get unique in DFS, you can try to plug one in, but because they're not going to get cut. So with that note, I mentioned the key things I'm going to be looking at, and I wanted to give you guys this information, is who's the guys that get the most opportunity to make birdies or eagles. This is looking at the last 12 rounds, and then what you're going to want to look at is over here is I rated them 1 through, kind of clicked on it. This is the best 15. So here you go. You got Kim, Leishman, McIlroy, JT, Varner, DJ. Again, this is guys, not that they converted all of them, but that had the most opportunities, which makes sense, right? Siwoo Kim gets a ton of opportunities, just typically doesn't make putts. Even McIlroy can fall under that, especially lately. And then I also did it for 36 rounds. So you could see, a bigger sample size. So that's probably pretty, not all, but at 6 tournaments minimum. So that gives you a pretty good sample size. So not just recent form, but if you want to take a bigger snapshot of the 2021 season, here's the guys there that will give you some ideas. And then who's the birdie maker? So, yep, that's great that they had the opportunity, but did they convert? And funny enough, right now, over the last 3 tournaments, Siwoo Kim actually leads in most birdies. Leishman, who's been out of nowhere, kind of finally getting some form, irons and putters working. He's had a couple good finishes here last couple tournaments. And you guys can see the rest of the list for you. And then I did it also, again, for 36 rounds. So that's funny. You get McIlroy pop up, right? Cameron Smith had that hot run there for a while. Of course, Burns been in great form. Louis kind of fell a little bit towards the end of the season, but still been really good. So I think those are the 2 key areas that you need to kind of focus on when you're trying to figure out, to sit there and try to figure out, well, who's, the better ball striker and all that. We're going to look at that. But really, if you get them for 4 days, it's, and this is, again, speaking from a DFS, this isn't, if you're doing a showdown 1 day head to head, this is, you're getting 4 days of these guys who can get you the most points over those 4 days. All right. With that said, let's go jump into Fantasy National, go look at some analysis, and then I'll summarize my top 15 picks for this CJ Cup. Okay, so jumping over to Fantasy National, and this is a place where if you are doing research or trying to do research on your own, trying to like scrape data from here and there, I highly recommend it. From a golf perspective, it's the best tool out there that I've ever could find. So, with that said, I am focusing on DraftKings pricing, but of course, you can use this information, these picks to, if you're doing FanDuel, of course, or Yahoo or whatever. Just so you know what we're actually looking at here. Looking at the last 12 rounds, no filters, because if I do plug in, I'm going to get older data, and I do like to look at recent form over almost everything for me. And also, this is kind of a dashboard for each guy that I think is very helpful, especially just to kind of illustrate to you guys of what I'm thinking. What happens is I put a little mini model here together, so I pick out my top 5 things out of that big model. I always like to look at birdie's gain. I think that tells you quite a bit. So that's this flow chart here over the last 12 rounds. And then you can see recent results over here in tournament history. Okay, so that said, I'm going to kind of go through this from the pricing ranges and who I'm picking. Right out the bat, you've got 2 guys coming in at 11,000. So you pretty much got to make a choice, DJ or JT. And of course, you also got to watch some Olympics. I'm sure that's Olympics. I don't know why I keep saying, I guess because Team USA. The Ryder Cup, we saw, and really, if you kind of course, just went off the Ryder Cup, our DJ, won all his points and looked amazing. Before that, DJ did not look amazing. JT looked okay, but he's been playing, I think, better golf over his last few tournaments than, of course, Mr. DJ. So, you only got a $200 difference, so it's really your call, but my lean is towards JT. And a lot of it is what he does in no-cut events. He's been very successful. Of course, he's won this tournament, which you're going to see a couple times, but that, of course, was over in Asia. So, do whatever you want with that. It really is not applicable. He's been solid green. A guy, again, you get him for 4 days. And typically what I've been seeing with JT is he has that one day that he's feeling the putter, confident, and then he can come out until he'll lose it the next day. So if somehow he keeps his putter for 3 out of the 4 days, just 3, he'll win this thing, I believe. He's elite from that, very, 100-yard approach, even though this isn't showing that so much here, but I know for a fact that you give me 100 yards in, there's nobody that I want other than JT hitting that shot. Morikawa maybe, but so out of those 2, I'll go click on them so you can see some of the information further to help you make a decision. So if you look at putting splits and you care about that, Poa is his best over his career, but really that's something. There's not much. When you see 0.19, 0.02, that's really nothing to make a whole bunch of thought process on. This kind of gives you a good understanding what he's done in his last 5 tournaments. Approach, he's gained 3 strokes. Putting, he's gained a stroke. And then you can see this kind of crazy, as I mentioned. So I mentioned day to day within a tournament, he can do this, but he's even been doing it every other tournament where, if you go back to the Charles Schwab, he gained like a stroke and a half, then lost 8.5, gained 5. We don't know at the Open what he did. I think it was a bit of a mishmash. I don't remember anything too spectacular. But he lost 5 here, gained almost 5 there. So you get the point. So it's that way tournament by tournament, and it's also that way. But the hope is, it's just confidence with him. If he starts to see a couple drop, away he could go with the putter. All right. If I just type in WGC events, you can kind of just get a quick understanding of no-cut events, what he's done over his career. And if we look at more recent, a second, a win, a 6, late the last 2, which this one was the one in Florida. What was it? Concession. Let me see. Let me click on that. Yeah, concession. Hence from the Ryder Cup, right? Jack Nicklaus. Let me click back. I think we just lost that. Okay, so, and then the St. Jude, was that Southwind? Yeah, so that's Bermuda. So, anyways, just to give you an understanding, you got to make your pick there. It's honestly, it's a bit of a flip, and you could almost, when you're building DFS, I might, maybe fade these 2 guys and maybe start at Colin Morikawa is where I'm going to go. There's 2 reasons. So from a modeling You can see he's ranked 72nd in my model over the last 3 rounds. Well, right, he yanked his back, got hurt, and was terrible. Just got in some bad swings. But I saw enough at the rider that he looks like Colin Morikawa again, and knowing that he's probably got the most experience on his course. I don't know that for a fact, but he is a member. But I know he hasn't lived a ton in Vegas. I think I said I feel like he's only been there like a year or so. But still, it's Colin Morikawa, and so I'm all over that. I'm going to go with some home course, positives. As we all know, he switched to that claw, and sometimes he switches back to whatever you call it, just a normal right hand low. And depending if it's long putts or not. But long story short, his putter has been somewhat better. But you can see it's kind of went a little south here. So that's also part of it. So not only did the irons and the driver, but you can go through his history and you'll never see 3 tournaments together that even look close to this. I mean, if I scroll down, you're just gonna see a lot of green. I mean, look at this, like the chunk, but the putter has always been, of course, his nemesis. So, anyways, I like Colin here. He can definitely stack up the birdies. Um, and he hasn't got a long history with WGCs, but of course he won the one at Concession, 26th to 20th of 42th. And again, just take that out of 80 players in your mind when you want to know how does that actually rank. It's not a 156. If we look at the CJ Cup, last year he had a 12th at Shadow Creek. If we look at the Zozo, he had a 50th and a 22nd. And the one you want to look at is probably the 20th because that's at Sherwood. But I'm not saying those are great. Well, the Sherwood is definitely probably not a great comparable course. It's just a no-cut event to reference. All right, so next guy at 10-6. So like I said, if I was building a team, I like both these guys. So really, you got 4 guys at 10,000. So again, I'm just gonna pick the 2 that I like the most out of these. And again, Xander, no cut events. Of course, last year, as I mentioned, made that crazy charge on Sunday. Ended up second here at the CJ at Shadow Creek. I'm not excited about what he's been doing birdies, but a little bit like Morikawa. He didn't do amazing during the FedEx. Had a nice show at the Tour Championship, but nothing super great there. And if we just go click on more Xander, you can see he is a better putter. And bent would be his second best surface. You can see that related here through his whole career. He's always on average gain. I mean, you can see kind of neutral right now against the field with the putter, but at least it's not red. You can kind of see on and off too. And then if you want to get an understanding, so I already mentioned the CJ Cup a second, then across in Asia, nothing to write home about there. What about the Zozo, 17th last year? And then let's just go plug in WGC events. So he had a win. That's pretty early on in his career. I think that was actually his first win, if I remember correctly. A second, so he likes at HSBC, and then a 6. So, anyways, I like him in these events. And for the price, like I said, if I got to pick between Spieth, as you can see, I think his game has faltered a bit, mostly the putter. Rory, he does show up on the birdie charts. I mean, the guy he's just super streaky, like a lot of these guys, but I think he's even crazier where he can just be like, can't make anything, and then all of a sudden he'll get on a 4 or 5 hole tear. So I like these 2 guys, and I already mentioned the reason why the Morikawa. Victor Hovland, I'm a big Victor Hovland fan. He can definitely put together some crazy strings. I've just seen too much volatility lately. And I'm not even basing it all off the Shriners by any stretch, but like the Northern Trust, the WGC St. Jude, just, let's just go look at him because I also feel like he's done some un-Victor-like things at time. Of course, Ben's his worst surface, but he's, not the best putter to begin with. You can see around the green, he's still trying to improve. Yeah, he's had these moments where off the tee he's gotten a little wayward, which is interesting. You can see at Shriners, it was just, around the green and putting just killed him. Sam Burns, I mean, what do you need to say, right? The guy's just been on fire for the last few tournaments. Of course, he won Sanderson. If he would have just, I think, what did he shoot 1 over or even or something like that on Sunday? I mean, if he'd have shot just a few under, not few, but if he would have just done like even half of what he was doing on the other days, he would have won that tournament. Um, so yeah, from a price tag, I would rather go with Burns over Hovland right now, just on the form. And let's go click. You can get a good look. So of course, Bermuda Burns gains over half stroke against the field when he's on Bermuda. Of course, this is bent, but he is still a good putter. So that was the St. Jude where he went in the playoff and killed me and missed that 3-footer or whatever it was after he got to see Answer's putt that was outside his. I'll never forget that. Still to this day. The CJ Cup, he did not play in last year, and so yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot of no cut event experience, but I'm not worried about that. Brooks Koepka was a little interesting to me. Because he does have some history at this course. He is a guy that you put him in something like this, like a no-cut event. It's also a little bigger purse. I believe it's like 1.8 million. I'm not saying it's all about money with him, but I just feel like his competitive juices will get flowing a little more. So he could be an interesting. But you know what? Actually, for the price, I decided to fall on Tony. His game has been, he won the Northern Trust, a 15th, at 11th. He has played, actually, he didn't play at Shadow Creek. You can just see everything is just click. And the big thing why I like Tony, I'll click and show you why. Of course, Bent's his best putting surface, and he actually gains. As we all know, the putter is his nemesis. But he's actually gained over his last 5 events 2.2 strokes. You can see that here: gain 5, gain 4, gain 6. Now he lost 4 at the Tour Championship, but when his putter gets going, and I want guys that can make a lot of birdies. This guy does that. So Tony Finau is my next pick at this 9,000 price tag. Sungjae Im, again, I think that you could relate a lot of what you just saw. If he puts that same kind of game together for here, he's going to win here. And it's a very similar, same putting surfaces, same kind of everything. Size of fairways, of course, it was a par 71, a little shorter track, but not by much. And so, there's no reason. I don't think he's going to win, but also he led the tour last year and most birdies made. Now, of course, I understand he also played the most tournaments. So, that could be a little misleading, but the guy does make a lot of birdies. So you see Bermuda does his best, but Ben is also a positive. So, a decent putter. You can see, this is a little above, but he's having these spikes. I don't want to check. I think the BMW might be, it's bent greens, par. So this is another Tom Fazio course, just, par 72, very similar in some aspects. And that's where the guys just torched that course. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I like Sungjae. I can also plug in. So let's go look at his WGC. So in no cut events, nothing great. I don't know, B minus, C plus, I mean, let's go put the CJ Cup. Nothing great last year. And what about the Zozo? So honestly, I mean, if you were thinking that, you were looking for someone to fade at that range, he might be someone just, again, coming off a win. Maybe doesn't have the greatest history in no-cut events, but all I can think in my mind, a guy plays a ton of golf, and I'm not worried about him going out the next weekend. Of course, he won the Honda, so it's not his first win on tour. If he goes out, like I said, and does what he does. Hideki, nah, I'm going to pass. I picked him last week, and, it started okay, and then it just fell apart. Both him and Victor, who played together. Louis, just at the price tag, I like those guys better. But, again, no reason if Louis gets that putter heated back up, he'll be good. Cam Smith, really, I'm a Cam Smith guy, but I'm just thinking, I don't know if he can take enough advantage. Now, he's typically pretty good at this range, at the 100-yard kind of thing. It's a driver that makes me a little nervous. And like I said, the second at Northern. But yeah, I'm going to be out. And then, of course, Answer. This is, I've always said I'm a week early, and it holds up over and over and over. Like Adam Shank, I was on. Sungjae, I think it was Sungjae Im I was even on, like I said, the previous at Sanderson or whatever it was. It doesn't matter. But I was all over Answer, and he failed me and everyone else miserably. Didn't even pretend like he was going to make the cut. So, I probably will plug him in a couple of lineups because, like I said, for some odd reason. And so you can see I'm on Scheffler, but Answer doesn't, typically put the birdie streaks. He can have a good day. Of course, I think he's had some really good Sundays. But if I had to pick from the price standpoint, I'd rather go with Scotty. Even though, again, the model's saying no. But everything else I know about Scotty is he, again, can get super hot. He's also got the length. So we jump on Scotty. Also, something I didn't mention was some of my picks last week were based on knowing the win was coming. Scotty Scheffler, as you see here, gains over 2 strokes in crazy win. Now, I've not even looked at a forecast, but it's the desert. It can pop up anytime. So, even Harris English, he gains like 2 strokes in a win. Like, I don't know if I specifically called that out last week, but some of the guys that, failed me, funny enough, I was kind of betting on because of the win. Now, that has nothing to do with what I'm looking here. It's just, pure and simple that Scotty Scheffler is due for a win. And he can get super streaky. He's got the length. He usually keeps it long and in the fairway. Very similar to me as a Tony Finau. I think he's a little bit cheaper price tag than Tony Finau, but I think everything he does is similar. Oh, I don't think Scotty Scheffler is going to have a whole lot of comp course stuff. But WGC, well, he's got 4. I'd say that's pretty solid. I give that a B plus, almost A minus for no cut events. So you got that. What about the CJ Cup? Played in it last year at 52. And then what about the Zozo? He has 17th at Sherwood. So, yeah, I just like Scotty. I'm out on Harris. I mean, you can see it. The putter, even his approaches just isn't, I don't know, this guy is so up and down. Again, wouldn't shock me a bit that this guy comes out and just blows up. But it's been, it wasn't anything great at the Ryder that we saw out of him. Nothing fabulous. His last good showing would have been at the St. Jude, but he did good at Shadow Creek last year, but this ain't last year and it's not Shadow Creek. Tommy Fleetwood, no thank you. Just no. I'm not doing it. Webb, I've already told you guys. Also no. I still don't think that guy is Webb Simpson like. Can also have one of those one low days, but can he put 4 days of low together? I don't think so. Funny enough, it's been a while that I picked Mark Leishman, but this guy is on fire. And Mark, it's the driver I'd be a little bit worried about, but his approach, his putting around the green, he can also handle himself if wind does pop up. You can see, I think out of all these guys over the last 3 tournaments, no one, I don't think, is even close to what kind of birdie he's doing now. Of course, he can throw the bogeys up with it, but as I mentioned, we want those guys. And also, it's kind of funny. They are definitely pricing him because of his recent form. You can see bench just dead neutral. Bermuda is where he's done his most. It's kind of funny. It's actually showing that he doesn't play that great in a win, but I beg to differ. An Australian guy, I think he can handle himself fine. But you can see what's happened here. It's, and a lot of, and even I would say that's, not sustainable to gain 7 strokes with the putter. But he also gained 5 on approach, gained 1.2. I told you it's the driver that makes me, the T-ball that gets me a little nervous. But wide fairways. Also, this course, when you get to the desert and you think about what they play over in Australia, I mean, very similar from a view standpoint. And, I'd have to guess even from a sand standpoint. Anyways, there's some similarities there. I'm going to go ahead and draw that. So if you wanted to go with the Aussie connection and plug in Cam Smith and Leishman, I could not, I would say no bad words about that. I think that's not a bad idea. All right, the WGC. So we look at his no-cut event experience, and it is quite in-depth. He's had a 3rd, 11th. I'm just going to pick on a 3rd. So I'd give that about a C plus, B minus for, those. He had a horrible CJ Cup last year. I remember that. And then that was right when I think his game started to fall apart. The Zozo, yeah. So literally the CJ Cup was before the Zozo. And I think he was like almost dead last in the Zozo. So it was bad. When it goes bad with Mark Leishman, it goes crazy bad. But when it goes good, away you go. And I actually bet him at 50-1, even though I wasn't super excited about those odds, but just kind of felt that this could be his moment. So really, I think your pick is between Kokrak and him, honestly. I can see a lot of reasons why you would go with Kokrak, but I'm going to ride the hot hand and the guy that's just making a ton of birdies, confident with the putter. Terrell Hatton, I told you, of course, last CJ Cup, it looked like he was going to win that thing. And then you could finally see that all his traveling and jet lag kind of caught up to him by the time the end of the weekend came. I mean, Shane Lowry can have his moments when it comes to putting streaks of birdies together, but maybe a showdown play. I like him for like a 1 day, but not a 4 day. Paul Casey just can't putt. Adam Scott, I think it's a sneaky play. I will sprinkle in some Adam Scott. He's just starting to show me a few things. The driver has just been falling apart year after year. He can still poke it out there, but he just has at times no idea where it's going. Everything else is pretty solid, and he can get super hot with the putter. So, you know, I don't know. With that price, it's a hard price tag for him. I feel like he should be a little bit lower than that, considering what he's been doing. But yeah, I might sprinkle him in. Patrick Reed, no way. Rose, again, I just go back to you had one good day at the Masters. I guess he showed up at the Wyndham. I think that's a hard no for me. I haven't seen anything on Kevin Na, but of course he withdrew due to some, I think, injury or something. So I have to keep an eye on that. I think Kevin Na could be, live here because he was just in fuego with throwing up 60s left and right. But for right now, I'm out on Kevin and just to kind of see what's going on there. So Max Homa, I mean, last time we saw this guy, he won the Fortinet. I was all over him. It was a perfect fit. I told you guys bet the crap out of him. Even not a bad bet. Again, I think he's I think if I remember right, like 60 to 5 to 1 or 60. Well, I mean, why not? The guy can get, he's either, like I told you guys, top 10, almost winning or missing cuts. Let's go take a look at Mr. Mad Max real quick. So you can see Poe is his best. And I already said it was another thing. California guy just loves to play in California. It's Vegas. It's not that far away. But Ben is not his favorite surface. But you can see, out of nowhere. I mean, he was losing. Look at this. Like, just bleeding strokes. Last time he had a positive was at Memorial at Jack's place at Murfield. And then Valspar. So I think Memorial is that Ben. Yes, par 72. Probably not a terrible comp course either, but again, I'm not going to even go into all those. Anyways, yeah, I like him. Maybe we can plug in to see what he's done at WGCs and whatnot. So nothing great. I'd give that a C minus best case. CJ Cup of 65 and the Zozo 46. So I might have to think about it a little bit about Max, but I like Max. Guy keeps it. He's really good with the 3-wood and long distance, so he can really strike. We don't have to worry about a cut, and he can definitely get super hot. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with him. Siwoo, again, almost like a Mark Leishman. Just been making shitloads of birdies. Ball striking the crap out of it. Yes, I know he missed the Shriners. I didn't even look that. I didn't get to watch a lot of Siwoo at all. So let me see. I'm guessing it's the putter that fell apart. Well, I guess it was everything that really didn't go too well. Which is crazy. You see here, he was just, striking the ball and actually started making some putts. Let's plug in. We can look at his. So I don't know. I give that again like a C from a cut event experience. CJ Cup, not too bad. A 17th last year at Shadow. About the Zozo, a 37th. So yeah, I just like Siwoo that he can. I kind of look at this from a showdown perspective. And so if you play a lot of showdown, of course, you're just trying to find the guys that day they're going to go out and make 6 birdies or whatever. And that, and that's almost how I'm picking these guys is a lot of the guys I like to play in showdown. Sergio Garcia is a perfect showdown player, usually Thursday, pick him up first round. You can see he's been, pretty hot from the 75 to 100. Great ball striker. Again, just going to come down with that putter. But you can see, funny enough, the putter over the last few tournaments. And you saw a little bit of it at the Ryder Cup. Well, it must be picking up this 5, and then this is kind of, we'll call it close to neutral, but he had that hot day at the BMW. That would be at K's value. Tom Fazio, of course. I'll plug in. I don't know if it's really worth it with Sergio. It's just a play that I just know the guy can go super low for a couple days. And I think he's actually a pretty good value. I think he's actually underpriced priced. The Zozo. I don't know why that is, but if you think about it, 7,500 for Sergio, and technically what he's been kind of doing versus, I don't know, even is Justin Rose really a better player uh, than Sergio has been, or even I don't know, Adam Scott. When's the last time Adam Scott's won a tournament? I think Adam Scott is the most overpriced guy out of this. I gotta look. Let's just find out. I don't even have an idea when. So he won the Genesis. I forgot about that. Back in 2020. That's the last thing he's done. Okay. And HV3. Actually, it comes up number 1 in my model. I bet him. I think he's 65 to 1. I highly recommend that you throw if you like to bet on golfers. This is a good spot for him. And again, whenever I see this, when you see a guy just tick, 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 and he's never won on the PGA Tour, I think it's, again, 65 to 1, throw a couple shackles on it, might make you happy. Why not? Just get hot. And you can see the one thing that HV3 typically does not do that very well is putting. But he's been, and I mean, typically pretty good with the driver. At times he can get a little wayward, but can poke it, and he's been good with the irons. He's not going to have any really no-cut experience. It's way back. Played the Bridgestone. He did play the CJ Cup a while back. And what about the Zozo? 27th. So, yeah. I like HV3, especially for the price tag. Gooch been playing good golf. I mean, it's kind of a pick between those two. Hoffman, again, just been making tons of birdies. Not so much the results. And we're not worried about him making a cut or not. Just he can definitely get birdie hot. So I like me some Hoffman. I'm going to kind of start wrapping this up because we're kind of stretching over time. Alex Noren. We'll click on him for you. I like him too. Again, making, Vince's best putting surface almost gains a half stroke. I think he came up as the number 1 putter, which I just don't think of Noren. But on bent grass, he's the number 1 putter. And you can see this. Look at him go. The approach, off the tee, but man, I just never thought of Alex Noren as a good putter. I don't know. But he's had, a 9th, a 4th. I bet him because this looks a lot similar, right, to the Max Homa. It's either he's top 5, top 10, or he's missing the cut. And we don't have to worry about him missing the cut. So I like me some Alex Noren. Tringali, right? Good 3 days, sucks on Sunday. But for 7,000 to get you that, maybe last guy in. I mean, of course, there's a lot more guys below here that we're going to talk about tomorrow. But for 7,000, I think it's a steal. I know he's kind of choked it out on some Sundays. But an all-around, just good golfer. I mean, that's about as, just good tee to green, can make putts, fence solid. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I think, pretty decent recent history. Like I said, that Shriners, not the best. I don't even know. Did he make the cut? I don't even think he did. Oh, I guess he did. He was 56. But then I think he just puked on himself for the weekend again. But anyways, all right, that's it. Let's jump out of here and we'll wrap this up. Okay, so to summarize my top 5, my Fab 5 picks for the CJ Cup, I'm going with the X-Man. We got JT, just get some confidence and keep it with that putter. Tony Finau, just do what you keep doing. You actually been hot with the putter lately. Sanjay M, again, like I said, I can kind of see in or out on him. But the guy plays a ton of golf. The guy's like the Iron Man of golf. And if he plays like he did just a few days ago, definitely is a good play. Morikawa, hey, it's your home course. You're, elite. And I think your swing is back where it needs to be. So I'm okay with Morikawa. My next 5, Homa, just do what you do as in keeping it in the fairway, make some putts. Scotty Scheffler, we need same thing. Just you got to make putts, man. Garcia, yeah, I'm kind of starting to get a theme here of no putts, except Bermuda Burns. Hopefully you can do okay on bent, but just keep the way you've been playing. And then Tringali for the price tag, $7K. How can you pass that up? I mean, I've got him in my top 10 technically. And then my final to round out Leishman, been just en fuego. So this would be the tournament where he goes out and sprays it all over his irons and can't make a putt. But I'm going to jump on that hot hand right now. Charlie Hoffman, good for birdies. Siwoo Kim, good for birdies. HV3, Been playing great golf. I think it's a great bet at 65 to 1. And then Alex Noren, kind of sneakily, haven't seen him in a while. But yeah, one of the best spin putters out here. So let's put him in. And on that, I will give you some of my favorite bets. It's not so much early because it's the second day, but I already mentioned Morikawa 16 to 1. I mean, I don't know. Everything I think is he's definitely could be your winner here. Brooks Koepka at 28 to 1. I look at this anytime the elites get up to like 30 to 1. That's when they typically win. Like a Justin Thomas, it's happened. At the Players, I think he was 30 to 1. So from a betting perspective, I like Brooks at 28 to 1. Noren 60 to 1. I think that again is pretty good odds. And if you want your crazy long shot, Sung Kang at 250 to 1. Now, typically, these kind of no-cut events with this elite field does not yield long shot wins. But Sung Kang, he led Thursday at the Shriners. He's been showing up. And, it's a couple rounds out of the tournament where he's firing low 60s. So, with that, I'm not saying bet the house on him by any stretch, but I had to get some kind of long shots. Like I said, this tournament's not made for that, but I'm gonna throw him in there. Who knows? It is golf. All right. With that said, thank you. That wraps it up. And if you stuck this long, would you do me a big favor? Click the like button, share it with anybody else that would want to hear my nonsense about golf. If you've not subscribed, I'm at I think 60 subscribers away from hitting the magical 1,000. So if you did watch this to this far and you like what I do and want to see some more or just use me for the picks, please subscribe and you will get notified. I put 3 shows out a week. Typically, this week I kind of slacked a little bit on Monday. And then follow me on Twitter. Anything that I see that comes up that I think you guys should know, I'll tweet it out. And then if you have anything I can help you with, probably the best way is throw it on YouTube comments and I'll get back to you ASAP. Let's have a great CJ Cup, and I'll be back tomorrow with everything you need to know before you lock in those lineups and your final picks. All right, guys, take care. Talk to you later.